Today, for the first time, I'm going to be listening to the new album by the band Bear Ghost, who I know nothing about, but it was recommended by someone in the comments. This is their newest album, Jiminy.
Bright lights, what's cooking? Smells to me just like a plebeian feast. Bring on my dad, prosperous behind it. Flavor, flavor. Come on down, bring your family. Watch the one who wanna stay afloat. Just one wants a place of perpetuity. It's time to rock and roll.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another album review / reaction here on my channel. I'm excited to do this. I'm sort of doing this on a bit of a whim. We're getting close to Halloween. As you can see, I have one of my favorite Halloween shirts on. It's kind of funny because a little while ago I was getting set up for this, and I had my microphone set up where I normally do, about right here. And if I sit like this, and you don't necessarily know what my shirt says, you might think it says something a little bit different than what it does. But if you're familiar with my channel here, you know my shirt would never say that, right? So, anyway, I'm getting close to Halloween. I wanted to do something a little bit fun. Let's just get this out of the way right away. I just got done filming a Slaughter to Prevail video where I went through and looked at and listened to a bunch of songs from their YouTube channel and a few, Alex Terrible, I think was the guy's name, like individual songs and stuff. So I have half a Mountain Dew left in this bottle. So I'm going to drink it while we're listening to this album. So, like I said, let's just get that out of the way right away. But the reason I decided to do this video, and I've mentioned this now in several videos we've recorded, but I don't know if any of that stuff's come out yet because it's been taking me a little bit longer to release videos on my channel because for the last few weeks actually, I've not been feeling necessarily the best. I've talked on my channel, uploaded by the time this comes out, our newest Metallica video will come out when we're re-listening to Ride the Lightning, and you can hear me explain a little bit more about this in that video. But we had COVID for a while. I was feeling sick before I had COVID in certain ways, coughing and everything, so I apologize if I sound a little strained in this video because it's still bothering me a bit. But and also sweating a bunch, so I've got my handkerchief off to the side. I'm sure you'll see me do that throughout the video. But anyway, I haven't been feeling the best, and we had COVID 2 weeks ago, I think, around here. I never tested positive for it, but by the time we realized what we had, my mother had tested positive for it, and then I tested and I was already negative, but I had been feeling a little bit better. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Don't need to go on all this, but we've been negative now for the last 2 weeks or so, but still feeling a few of the effects from it, I think, and it's been a real big bummer. So if anyone was thinking about getting their whatever those, I've been hearing them advertise them a lot recently. I think you can still get them for free, the COVID shots. I would highly recommend doing it. I got COVID when it was going around first round 2 years ago or whenever, and it was really bad for a few days, but it wasn't as bad as this time when I got it. It was very annoying, and like I said, I think I'm still suffering some of the effects several weeks later, so hopefully this goes away and I managed to feel a little bit better. But anyway, enough about that. One of the main reasons I decided to do this video, or really the only reason, is because I was reading a comment on one of the other videos here on my channel, and someone mentioned a band called Bear Ghost. I couldn't remember at the time if it was Ghost Bear or Bear Ghost. And I actually think that Ghost Bear is a way cooler name, but that probably was taken, so this is Bear Ghost. Never heard of this band before. And usually when someone recommends a band in the comments, I will, maybe write it down. I have a note on my phone that I just keep updating with bands that people recommend we listen to, things like that. But sometimes someone will mention a band, and for whatever reason, it'll resonate with me. In this case, I think I saw the comment, or I got a notification for it, when I happened to be laying in bed listening to music, which is when I tend to listen to most of the music that I listen to, like with headphones, pay attention to it. I'll lay in bed and listen to like a whole album before I fall asleep. And I think I was doing that, and at the time, I think I had a tablet with me, and I was listening to stuff on Spotify. And so I just looked the band right up on Spotify immediately, found the new album, listened to the first track, and I was like, wow, this is really interesting. This is really cool. It sounds very unique, and there's a lot of elements here that are kind of surprising. And then I listened to about the first minute or so of the second track, and I stopped because I was like, this is really cool, and maybe there's a chance I should react to this. So here we are. It's about a week and a half since I've done that. I have some time. I had my stuff set up because last night I was recording with my cousin Cody. We were listening to some Duran Duran and some Doors. So you can look forward to videos of that on my channel coming up. But for now, we're just going to listen to this Bear Ghost album. And so I just want to look them up on Wikipedia and just see. Actually, let's look them up on Discogs and see Bear Ghost. Bear Ghost Band. There's the picture they have. So they look like kind of a fun group. They have 5 releases. So they have 2 albums. One from 2016 called Blasterpiece. Blasterpiece. Very cool artwork. I like that. That's the artwork. I don't know if you can... Neat. And then they have Jiminy, which I don't think that they've released on CD. Oh, it says CD-ROM. There's none for sale currently. Ooh, this says there's a secret track, and then there's a track 12, a reprise. So the CD, it looks like, has a secret song on it that we're not going to be able to listen to on Spotify. Unless it is part of what's considered the last track, which is Vulture. No, And actually, it looks like the times of the songs are a little bit different as well. Skimpson. So here's the... I'll just put up the picture of the cover or whatever here, but I really like the cover of Jiminy. Really cool album cover. Love the artwork. Let's see what it says about this band. It actually doesn't say anything about them. They have no... Usually down here, they have like a little about the band. It doesn't have anything about them. Let's look them up on Wikipedia and see if they have their own page. Not sure how big of a band this band is. It looks like they do not have their own wiki page. So this is from fandom.com. They're from Mesa, Arizona. Genre rock. From 2010 to present, they've been active. Influences, a couple things I don't know really. Danny Elfman, Queen, and then Tally Hall and Alan Menken. Don't know who... Alan Menken, I think... That sounds familiar. And Tally Hall, I don't know. But Queen and Danny Elfman, not a huge fan of Queen, but I like, their songs that are pretty... They do have some great songs. Danny Elfman's great. Members Ryan Abel, Andrew Heath, and Mike Buttons, with a capital Z. I like that. They have a website. Click on. It says, Bear Ghost is an American electric rock band from Mesa, Arizona. The band's sound has been described as a mix of prog rock, indie rock, punk, hip-hop, metal, and electronica, which is great. That's a great combination of things. Since their formation in 2010, Bear Ghost has released 2 albums, 2 live albums, a Christmas EP, and 3 singles. I love that they've done a Christmas EP. That's great. Then there's a bit of like a history. We're not going to get into all that. Jiminy, for this album, it says, in 2020, Bear Ghost began to write and record a new album, releasing the single Sirens in January and Big Town Banky Blaine's Rockabilly Barbecue on Christmas Day. Really? So that's a year ago. Almost. Well, 10 months ago. According to Heath via the band's official Discord, recording stalled due to COVID-19. Oh, Abel's newborn child taking up much of their time. Okay, in 2023, the band released the 3rd single, Rivers is a Vampire. On July 28th, 2023, the band dropped an image of the album, basically. 3 days later, they showed the album's cover art, confirmed it would be released worldwide September 22nd. So that's only a few weeks ago from today. So, all right, so let's not waste any more time. Let's just have some fun with this. I think this is going to be fun. They seem like they're kind of tongue-in-cheek, like they know what they're doing. And so it's been a while since I've listened to an album on Spotify, so if my video starts to lag or something, I'm sorry about that. I only have the free version of Spotify, so we're going to get probably some ads, so we'll see what happens. But this is track 1, 2 minutes and 30 seconds long, After Me, The Flood, by Bear Ghost from Jiminy. Okay, here we go. Pizzicato. little static in there.
My dear friend, we're here again. A very familiar place.
Very high fidelity recorded vocals. Sounds great.
All was done.
Pizzicato, very wide, spread wide.
A hollowed and fleeting taste.
Probably double tracked and spread wide, but
I can count the endless hours perfecting your natural grace.
might also just be a stereo delay.
I see the end that I intend, but can't find the path I should
Very wide.
take. I'll start again. I'll persevere.
We love those bells.
What's the price of perfection?
Ooh, la 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 la.
Until it's paid in full, I'll be hunted and revived.
Wow. Da 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 da. This remind me a little bit of Leprous there. Ooh. Subtlety there, really great. Strings. Okay, so they must have had some kind of like a string section play on this, or maybe the guys in the band play strings. I'm gonna turn it down just a smidge. Forgot to turn this on. What color should we have? It's kind of like a purpley album. Oh, that's not as bright as the other one.
You're in for quite a
Oh, that looks blue.
We interrupt your death metal to bring you some heavy news.
That was awesome. We interrupt your death metal to bring you some news or whatever. Yes, a little avant-garde here. Reminds me a bit of Ludo, a little bit. Ooh. It's like a tango sound, kind of. Those casclaves.
passing asteroids been glancing at our atmosphere. The experts estimate collision any day. This beckons questions, tune in at 11, keep it here.
Definitely some Weird Al here as well, which Ludo has always reminded me of Weird Al a lot. Maybe a little Psycho Stick as well. Definitely Danny Elfman vibes too. We love that riff.
Hey, Mr. Radio, you got it twisted. Let me whisper shady old. I know better than the vinyl. Demons in the light,
Wow. God, there's so much to listen to.
show your confirmation by your just in this massive massacres occurring here and there. Hey, Kraken's attacking
Little tambourine in there. I mean, there's so many things I can't even. That sounds like it could be a little choir of people. Could also be the guys in the band singing and then doing multiple takes and pitch shifting and stuff, but that would be really hard to get that sound. That sounded like a choir of people. Very complex arrangements. Lots of moving parts here that all have to work together. lot of auxiliary percussion all over, like every instrument I can think of. Just some subtle guitar stuff off to the side. Vocoder. The tom drum's not spread massively wide, allowing for things to exist on the side. The crash cymbals are spread massively wide. It's as wide as it can be. Yeah. This little sci-fi warbly synth in there. Piano. Great piano playing. Ooh.
The good news is, you're the coolest people in the world. The bad news is,
Bum, 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 bum.
the world is over.
The world is over.
Hey, Mr. Radio,
Yeah!
have a listen, we got intuition, and that's all we need. Now all that's left is just a heather seed of endless bones.
It's been a long time since we heard that chorus, or that choir. Are they going to come back at the end here?
Hey, Mr. Radio, you decommissioned our humble position upon your grave.
Loved it. Loved it. Okay, so I don't... Okay. The guitar playing is reminding me a little bit of a much darker band that I saw live once and fell in love with them called Schoolyard Heroes.
You're the freshest squeeze, a beat with lots of knees. Yeah, baby, you got it all. I can't believe that we got so much in common. Like how we sneeze when we inhale too much pie.
He has phenomenal diction when he's singing. It's a bit theatrical, like stage performance-y.
My heart is singing for you and I'm singing along. We go beep, bop, do do baby, you're one of a kind.
Yeah, this is like reminding me of this like 20s, 30s like jazz type thing.
What are the odds we're both allergic
Scat
to our
vocals.
steak, and neither one of us can see in the dark. It's weird. Two peas in a pod.
Brush.
No ain't a single flaw. Can you believe it? Both peas now. When you
Electronic
snap
bass
back
off to the side. Xylophone. Or like a marimba maybe.
I wrote you a la-la-la song. My heart is singing for you and I'm singing along. We go beep, bop, a doo do baby, you're one of a kind.
Strum and banjo. Or mandolin, maybe, probably mandolin. Ooh, mixed with the distorted guitars, that's great. Woo! Oh, I love stuff like this. Oh. This is...
A billion stars out there, somehow we both wound up on this one. You must be destiny, I can't think of another reason. I don't have a plan, it ain't a
This is a hard thing to react to because the moment I start saying something that I'm hearing, it's gone.
I love the way you got a head on your shoulders. I love the wrinkles that you get when you're older. When we're cold and blue, I'll still be there by you, and I'll still reach for that Vulture. I wrote you a la-la-la-la song. My heart is singing for you, and I'm singing along. We go beep, bop, ba-doo-do, ba-doo-be-doo-wah. Baby, I'm so glad you're mine, mine. Beep, bop, ba-doo-do, ba-doo-be-doo-wah.
It makes me giggle when you say funny things, girl. It makes me tickle when you tickle my knees, girl. You see over a track when you do karaoke. Shake it on the floor when you do
That's a fade out. So I gotta bring out the fade out board. That's one strike against you.
I pissed away
sing, and I count on finding solace in their song. But in pacing through these halls, digging nails into the walls, I've grown tired of their prying eyes spying. They say the life you got is what you make it, but I starved myself in comfort for too long.
Ooh, dissonant piano notes there. Loved it.
Feel alive, so let's bounce before they wake up and they find me. Grab your bootstraps, boys, buckle up, and we out on the loose. I got two-step winning grip, my finger guns are ready to shoot. I wanna dance all night, I got a hankering to shake off some blues.
It's a cool riff.
First I find the atmosphere delicious as I join them in their jaunty jamboree. Then a crack and I can hear the neurotic itching fear of the amplifying dissonance behind me. They say you wanna dance like no one's watching. They're a telepathic chorus in my mind, with their laser-guided eyes firing mirrors as sharp as knives. A pariah gone awry.
Well, I guess I should say what song we're on. I don't even know. I'm not looking. This is Sirens. My phone's ringing, but I'm not going to answer it. Yeah, I probably should. I feel like this one's a little bit more of a straightforward song, and I appreciate that because so far it would be hard to kind of differentiate what's even a part in any song, like from song to song. I mean, ooh. I mean, this sounds so much better sonically than like most, you know, billion-dollar albums that I've heard. I mean, the quality of this production-wise is definitely better than like any Metallica album I've heard this year. Probably most any album I've heard this year. It's a little hard to follow along with, like I said. And we're on track, going to be on track 5 now of 10.
Trade away 401ks for the beach and sunny days. Overdue, but that ain't gonna crush us.
This is Rivers is a Vampire. This features a guy named Dan E.T.
I'm too high to ever touch the ground. I'm too cool to ever settle down. We're so pretty, we should run this town. Draining veins until I drown. Scratch that it would seem, no one got away from me.
Love that. Going from that single guitar to the wide guitars, double tracked, sounds great, makes it sound massive.
Just like you, I struggle, but I slay what you say. Can I partake?
Obviously, love the brass section here.
Living only to be free. To anyone above us. What I love is seeing peace. Better hit my live stream. It's your boy. Be sure to give a thumbs up. Please, oh please, just let me come inside. I'm so hungry and I'm looking fine. I can't rage. I don't bite. I'm ready for another lease on life. Give me the music. This beat is Tuesday. I wanna drink till I get stupid. Come on and lose it. If I don't fluid high. Cut loose when I move my head. Let's hear the bass hit. I wanna taste it. I wanna rejuvenate again. What's that about? I'll spell it out. We'll be at the Velvet Lease for yours.
I was gonna say this is a little bit more mariachi-ish, but we've had so many different styles, like a little bit of tango. We had, you know, the bebop-y sort of stuff. Ooh. I love all these sort of instrumental sections. Everything's very tasty. I feel like almost nothing is done more than once, though, and that's kind of a thing that's a little hard for me to follow along with. I'll definitely need to listen to this album more in the future to get, you know, as much out of it as I can. This is, like I said, this is kind of a tough thing to just, like, talk about as I'm listening to it for the first time. Nice. They're doing so many clever things. Okay, so this is an ad. All right. So while the ad's going, let's catch our breath a little bit here. I had a phone call interrupt me. I wasn't really looking at the song titles and stuff for a little while, so it's been hard for me to kind of differentiate from song to song. I really like everything that's happening, but it's so... like the songs are like kaleidoscopes, or they're like a collage or something, right? It's hard. You have to focus on one thing only at a time, especially when you're doing what I'm doing here. You can't really like just lean back in your chair and let it experience it. When we're reacting to something, at least the way I'm doing it, the way I always do it, production-wise, you have to listen to one element, and that's what I do. I pick a thing, listen to it. How is it recorded? Why is it placed into the mix the way it was? What's balancing it on the other side? What are its frequency ranges? You know, things like that. Those are the things I think of when I'm listening for the first time, but by the time I get to the second of those, like, 4 things... Okay, this is the next song starting. The song's already moved on to something completely different because it's just thing after thing after thing after thing after thing after thing after thing. Especially those first 2 songs. I do feel like since then the songs have been a little bit more contained within themselves. But this is the second single, I think, if I remember, Big Town Banky Blaine's Rockabilly Barbecue. So if it's a barbecue, Rockabilly Barbecue, I wonder if it's going to be a little bit more... I was thinking it's going to be a little bit more country-ish, maybe. But doesn't sound like it.
It's time to rock and roll. His opponent is reeling. We're protected by this glass ceiling. Knock 'em silly. To the left and up. Let's lose the win. Order up. Hot dog, never felt so alive. The irony plays from the crook in his eye. You must be grateful you ain't the one to die. Hey, Hick Town, Banky, Rockabilly Barbecue. Chop, chop, get 'em up on the pie.
I've mentioned before on my channel that my least favorite genre of music is show tunes. I cannot stand the idea of like watching someone perform in a theater, and some of this stuff is like that. It's all very impressive sonically, but some of the songwriting is too show-tuney for me. Three-part harmony. The snare drum definitely has, for that part, a little bit more. It had a lot of like a low pass filter on it. Nice guitar solo here. But I feel like certain parts of the songs they allow it to have a little bit more of that snappiness to it, a little bit more high frequency, so they're probably automating the low pass frequency, which just means good editing, good mixing. Ooh, that piano is beautiful. This is all about This is all about balancing. Oh, they're speeding up. Ooh. Very cool organ off to the side. Love it. Delish. Okay, got a phone call. Let's restart. Bark Skimpson. Skimpson? Bark Skimpson? Let's see how he pronounces that. Bark Skimpson. This is a short little 2-minute thing. A lot of... Right, the offbeat guitar stab. Seems like every song kind of starts that way. Little sea shanty-ish. Pretty cool. It does seem like they sort of pick a roundabout theme and stick to that for each song, which is nice.
Hopelessly immobile as you root into the ground. All your skin begins to harden to a thick, rugged brown. Every limb will pierce your body from the trunk out through the ground. Still, it's nothing like the suffering you brought the world around. What's wrong? Great unearther, can you bring usurper petrified? Watch as we devour what remains.
So I did not hear him say Bark Skinpson in there, which I really wanted to hear him try to say Skinpson. This is the Mario Cliche. Here we go! Love the organs here, keyboards.
You make me feel like my whole body's a high five. So why would I just up and end us? It's a deep well, but let's take a dive. I took a hard look in the mirror, hoping I'd find the missing screw that I knocked loose.
Obviously a lot of like Super Mario Brothers influence here. I'm just gonna go on the record and say I'm not a fan of Nintendo. I think they make games for children. And I know what I'm talking about. I'm not saying I'm a video games expert, but I know a lot about video games, played a lot of them. And Nintendo makes childish looking games always.
Share that I've been living in despair, my own hell, all alone upstairs. Yo, and that act is whack. I'm a big fat bag of crap.
Again, his diction is perfect.
So I'm going on a definite sabbatical, an introspective venture meant to make a whole radical. Maybe I'm a little bit selfish, but I dug this hole myself. It's not on you, so pat your back, son. You deserve better than a fractured fraction. This fine reflection's got me flexing. Done with the wrecked head neglecting. Baby, you're a
I'm noticing the bass here kind of for the first time, really. I haven't been paying attention to the bass, but I'm sure it's been, you know, banging the whole time.
I think I'm losing my head, but he's in unison with every thought I got. No need to speak and sing in every way. Bitches and day and night and going chorus left and right. Believe me, this isn't easy. Nobody loves me like you do. I gotta love me too. Mamma mia, I need a drink. I'm lost inside this bar.
I like this song. That was pretty cool. That was a very clever way to make it sound, you know, in Super Mario-ish without, you know, I'm sure infringing on any copyright. I'm curious about the next song. Are we going to get a slow song? Everything's been so like attacking so far. We needed like a thing in the middle of the album to be like, let's take a break. Definitely sounds a lot like Weird Al here.
What am I doing wrong? You've been bamboozled, kid. I thought I wanted this. Way in eternity with eyes on the horizon. Every moment passing silently by. What you wish for? Hanging euphoria by your
Half-tempo chorus. This is nice. After the hum-diddly-dee-dum-dotty part. Ooh, very cool. The alternating parts. Drums sound great, by the way. Cymbals, I don't know how they got the overhead spread so massively. There's far left, far right. Leaving room for everything in the middle, though. My guess would be every... This is cool. Whoa. That's a cool moment in the chorus when they go ba da 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 da. I I mean, there's a lot of awesome rhythmic stuff happening across the every song. I mean, these guys have to be flawless musicians. I mean, okay, this is Vulture. Give me a long, slow song. Don't attack me with bump. Thing over here, thing over there, thing down there, thing up there, thing down there, thing over there. Don't do that. Just breathe. Which they're doing so far, and I like it. I was gonna say, I think the way they have the cymbals and all the cymbals spread so wide is that they were all recorded mono, I would guess, with close mic'd. And you just pan the suckers far left, far right. Yeah, let's do it. One vocal line, electric guitar in the middle, bass in the middle, stereo reverb on the guitar, but not massive. I don't know if I've ever heard an album with cymbals, like overheads. They probably didn't use overheads. I don't know. You couldn't have overheads and get it this wide, but unless you put the overheads like underneath the cymbals or something weird, but no. Even the hi-hat's like a far left. Low pass sort of sci-fi sound. Nice, they didn't explode it. Yeah. Yeah. This is Muse. Muse-ish. Are they gonna explode or are they gonna... I'm gonna look them up on Discogs again. Just this album. Back to the intro of the song. Very pretty song so far. Everything I've heard is great. There's definitely moments when the singer reminds me of the guy from Leprous, Einar Solberg. Distorted piano. I don't think I'll count that as a fade out because, you know, the song's pretty much finished. Then you have the piano. Then the piano faded out, but... Okay, so... How to sum up my thoughts on this? This is tough because I feel like if you showed me one song from this band, any song other than the last song, but more specifically, if you showed me like the first like one of the first 2 or 3 songs, I would be like, wow, that's incredible. I've always wanted to hear a well-produced album like this. And the few things that I have heard like this, you know, maybe a band will dip their toe into this sort of like the xylophone, bell, all the things you think of when you think of like a old-timey cartoon or something, and like the show tuney, like jazzy, bebop-y thing, and then in like it has all these elements combined, and they're all like staccato-y things. Everything's like percussive, very percussive, and it's all chaotic and very fast changing. You show me that, and I'm like, wow, this is incredible. I wish more bands did stuff like this. But then you hear a whole album of that. And it's tough because part of me feels like it's slightly gimmicky, but it's done so well, and it's done so well consistently across the entire album. It's not a gimmick. It's like they're doing it. It's like a part of their band, right? Like they just have 40 people all playing percussion instruments and xylophones and marimbas and bells and glockenspiels and piano, multiple pianos spread out across the stereo spectrum with different types of microphones and effects on it. And then you have, 40 people all lined up doing their different vocal parts, right? And then you have guitar player, 2 guitar players. And I'm not necessarily thinking about them performing this live. I definitely, one of the things I appreciate the most about this album is that it sounds like it would be impossible to perform live unless you had 100 people on stage doing it. And if they do that and their shows are absolutely crazy, that's cool, it's awesome for them, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. I generally don't tend to care at all about live music. I don't enjoy live music at all. This was an album that feels like they left it all in the studio, and I say that all the time. I think bands should always leave everything in the studio, and you should never compromise your vision because you're afraid you can't reproduce something live. So that element of it I really appreciate. But like I was trying to sort of articulate, having every song be this like bombastic ness just sort of like thrown at you, it almost felt like it was too much. But the fact that it was so consistent, I'm almost thinking in my head this is like some sort of like a different genre, right, of music, right? Like this is sort of an amalgamation of things put together in a way that's not gimmicky, because, you know, when I think of certain bands that maybe have come close to this, it's usually just like one or two songs on an album that have elements of what they're doing in those one or two songs. But this full album, every song had a lot of those elements in it, incorporated into it. If it wasn't the entirety of the whole song, it was in verses and it was in between sections and transition parts. And it was consistent enough to you never lose the fact that at any moment you could hear all this crazy stuff. So it was very consistent in that chaotic way, in that chaoticness. But I almost feel like it's almost too much of a good thing, like too much of that like crazy chaoticness to not necessarily. It's hard to say that it becomes samey from song to song, but definitely for me, some of the songs blended together. Now, I will definitely also say, and I definitely think that this is true, like the way that I'm listening to it and then trying to talk about it as I'm listening in real time is probably the worst way to listen to something like this, right? It's like someone who gets Red Dead Redemption 2 and has to play it in a weekend for a review. That's the worst way to play Red Dead Redemption. You should spread your playthrough of that game out over months. That's how you should do it. And that's kind of a weird analogy, but I think if you follow along with me there. The fact that I mentioned it in the video, like I hear something interesting and I want to talk about it, but by the time I start my thought, that thing is gone. And I'm not one of those people that's just going to sit here and listen to a song in silence and then tell you what I thought about it. That's not how my channel works. That's not what I talk about. For me, it's in real time. So with that being said, I think this sort of limitations of the way that I listened to this album maybe did color my opinion of it a little bit. I am very much looking forward to listening to this entire album again. And off the top of my head, I can think of like 4 people that I can show this to, and it will explode their minds. But like I said, when I heard the first song on this album and then this little bit of the second song, my mind was blown. I was like, wow, this is incredible. But then listening to a whole album of that same sort of incredibleness with the way I just did it, I feel like it lost a little bit of its luster the further we got on. Now, I will also say I think that there's more crazy stuff at the beginning of the album than there is at the end. And I do appreciate that the last song was what I wanted it to be, that slow song. But the fact that he had to throw those few F-bombs in there at the end, oh, wow, listen to how edgy you are. That's so great. I didn't hear any other swear words on the whole rest of the album, and I was like, oh, this is great. Finally, a band that doesn't need to resort to, debasing their lyrics to the point where they have to be like, F you, or this is S, this is, crap. And so the fact that he had to throw those in there at the end really made me roll my eyes. But as I've said a million times, swear words don't ever tend to ruin something for me. It just makes me sort of, I guess, respect it a little bit less than I was. So that's the last song I would say is probably, I would maybe even say is the most disappointing song on the album to me, because I was looking forward to the long, slow song, and I enjoyed the way that they built it up and then kind of teased you with getting bigger and then let it go back to down again for like a sort of a second verse. So like a first verse kind of building into what you think might be a chorus, and then second verse, and then the chorus, and then it comes down again, and then right into another chorus, I think it was. And then, it kind of stayed bombastic to the end of the song there. I think all that was done well. I mentioned while I was listening there how I think the mixing was done really very cleverly. The cymbals are the thing that was sort of the most interesting to me and confusing. Not necessarily confusing, but the fact that they were spread complete left, complete right, the entire album is a very interesting way to approach this. But I don't think the album would sound as good if they were more in the middle or more like you would assume overhead microphones or cymbals where they would normally be placed in music. The fact that it was full 100% left and right meant that the crashes that you're hearing, the thickening agents, usually on the downbeats of measures, and then maybe some sort of like a consistent white noisy sound through parts of the song, were off to the sides, leaving room in the middle for all of those crazy elements and the things that aren't just guitar, bass, drums, vocals, or piano. They did a lot of extreme things on the sides, a lot of sounds on the extreme left, extreme right. There were organ parts like that. There were, part of me almost wonders if no, it couldn't have been done in mastering, because I think that would have affected other things more. Certainly the mastering could have helped widen the stereo spectrum, but the fact that there were so many things, extreme left, extreme right, that had to have been done during mixing. And I do feel like it was done very well. I've mentioned now multiple times all these crazy percussive elements. And when I say percussive element, I can even include like a piano in there. Anything that has like a really fast tangent or a really fast transient that is a short staccato note, which could be, pizzicato strings. It could be piano. It could be harpsichord, clave. It could be organ parts. It could be, and then all those bells and things I was mentioning, xylophone, marimba, all that kind of stuff, glockenspiel, all those types of things. There's room in the mix, the stereo mix, for those things because the cymbals are not taking up a chunk in the middle of the stereo spectrum. Frequency-wise, this sounded phenomenal. And I think the way that they got it to sound that way was everything was recorded high fidelity, close microphone, with a close mic technique. A lot of the sounds were probably digital. I highly doubt that they had a real piano or a real xylophone or a real glockenspiel or a real whatever. I highly doubt they had real instruments like that. I do think that there was real string instruments on this. It sounded like that quite a bit, whether it was like sort of a chamber orchestra or something like that, or just a little string section, or some of the members in the band maybe someone plays cello, someone plays violin, and they're really good with their orchestrations, and they wrote little pieces and stuff that worked. The guitar playing was really great throughout. I mentioned almost every song has that right, and then like it was very sort of circusy, carnival-y, worked really well. Not a ton of high frequencies in the guitars, but enough to have good definition in them. You could tell what the guitars were doing at all times. Clean guitars sounded good. Electric guitars sounded good, not overly distorted. The vocals sounded phenomenal across the board. And they didn't like lo-fi or low pass all background vocals so much that it sounded muddy or warbled. Everything sounded clear, and what they were relying on was the arrangements of the songs and the mix of the songs to make sure that things didn't get muddled or muddy in the mix in terms of the arrangement of the song. So it was just, the arrangements were so carefully thought out, and the vocal parts and rhythms and harmonies that were happening with the vocals, but also any other sort of lush or longer held notes in the background, everything was written in such a way that it worked flawlessly without creating muddiness or any moments where you don't really notice where you're supposed to be listening, where you don't really know what you're supposed to be listening to. There were many moments on this album where your ear is drawn to one side or the other because of what's happening. But I feel like anytime that was the case, it was intended for you to have the mix feel like, like, right? And then there were certain things always in the middle: kick, drum, snare, bass, vocals. That's what should always be in the middle, depending on what's going on. And that sort of grounded everything. So yeah, really impressed with the production on this across the board. Very well done. I liked a lot of the songwriting. There was a lot of clever things happening. I'm sure I didn't even catch 30% of what was actually going on because my mind was trying to react, talk about this thing, talk about that thing, talk about this thing. And I feel like the first like 4 or 5 tracks were really like every 2 measures, the song completely changed. And generally, I feel like it's easier to pay attention to something or to follow along if it's every 4 measures at a minimum, right? If it's every 8 measures and something changes, then you're getting into like trance music and stuff. But if it's every 4 measures, you know, and obviously there can be like deviations and transitions and fills and things like that can be 1 measure or half a measure or lead-in notes and things like that. I understand all those things. Not that I understand them like so well that I could ever write anything even remotely like this. But I do feel like there was a lot of chaotic moments where things were changing. Now, I also have to say, I've said out here on my channel before, there are certain genres of music that I just do not like at all. Punk music is one of them, though I do think that there's good punk music. Praise music or worship music, I think, is some of the worst music on the planet. It seems so disingenuous, and I absolutely hate it. But there are a lot of great Christian rock artists, Christian metal artists, Christian pop artists who I wouldn't consider to be praise or worship music. Praise, worship music, I think, is just awful. But there's lots of great Christian artists, so I don't want to, make it seem like there's no good Christian artists. There's a lot of really great Christian artists covering all genres of music. But the other genre of music is like, and I don't even know if this is the correct word, but like show tunes or soundtracks to musicals. It just seems so fake to me. If I picture the person singing and I think of them on stage in a costume, forcing a smile while they're singing, it turns me off immediately. And there was definitely moments here where I could see the vocalists, even if it's the same guy doing multiple parts, like all in different, like a little, I picture like Oliver or something on the stage with these guys all singing really fast at each other and having like these choreographed, and that just immediately takes me out of it. And I'm just like, no, I hate this. So there were a few moments where it felt like that, but just a few of the songs had that kind of show-tuney vibe to me. And again, maybe show-tune's not the right word, but the rest of the songs didn't give me that vibe, even though I do feel like it was the same sort of vocal styling, that very quippy, fast, it's definitely a style. And I don't know what that style is, like jazzy, jazz singery, like bebop, 20s, 30s jazz, like upbeat style that you don't hear very often. Like I said, it reminded me of Ludo, reminded me of Weird Al, but then during some of the like harder notes where he was pushing harder, it reminded me of Einar Solberg from Leprous. I can definitely see some of the like Queen. They mentioned Queen as an influence. There's definitely a lot of like sort of theatricalness to what they were doing. And I think that kind of goes to like show tunes musically thing I was just mentioning. I don't necessarily like it when music is theatrical. I like it when music is orchestral, when music is epic, when music has like a vibe or like a underlying feeling to it. And I don't mind when that underlying feeling is happiness or elation or discovery, things like those are abstract things when you're talking about music. But there wasn't really any moment on this album that was like dark or depressing, maybe with some of the lyrics, but it didn't sound that way at all. Everything was very upbeat, jazzy. The like bebopiness was there. That was really cool in some of the earlier songs. They pulled from a lot of songs and things that I feel like every person just kind of like knows. So some of it felt familiar what they were referencing, but I feel like it was sort of ambiguous enough that you couldn't really say like, that reminds me of this or that reminds me of this, with the exception of the Mario song, where I felt that there were definitely moments where they were using specific like what do you call it when it's a step, like intervals, specific music intervals to make it sound like sort of Super Mario Brothers music, which was definitely done intention. The song was called the Mario Cliche or whatever. With the exception of that song, there were lots of things that I was like, this feels sort of familiar. This feels sort of familiar. This is like an old cartoon I picture in my head, or this is like, some movie soundtrack or something. But nothing that was ever so specific. I felt like it was ripping anything off or anything like that. So it felt very original in that regard. And the thing that I keep coming back to as I'm thinking about this and as I'm just sort of puking out all my thoughts here is that it really is impressive that they kept the consistency of the chaotic specialness that they have and the abundance of sounds that they used in every song. Like if you had a different track for every separate source of audio, which, I mean, you can layer things, right? Like you can have the first half of the song has acoustic guitar in it. Second half of the song all has electric guitar in it, right? You can bounce things down and you can, mash things together in such a way that like the acoustic guitar and the electric guitar exist on the same track, right? You can do that. But if you think about if every song was as many tracks as it took for every single individual sound source to have its own track, there would be hundreds of tracks probably for every song. And some of them would only have one or two percussive hits on it throughout the entire song. So when you have a band that's willing to write arrangements like that, it speaks to their creativity, it speaks to their musical theory, it speaks to their talent musically, and it speaks to their ability to have the whole picture in mind when creating something like that. I talk about how there's two different ways to go into a studio and create a song, right? Either you create the song and you craft an album. You go into the studio and you craft your album in the studio, right? You record your sounds, you put them all together, you decide how you want everything to sound, you add the extra elements, and you craft the album in the studio. The other way is to go into the studio with everything sort of pre-planned, and you just have to capture the performances, and then it's all about the mixing and the editing. I always prefer listening to music that is crafted in the studio, where you can feel moments of inspiration and bursts of creativity that created something within a song that's special, and when they add those different elements. And certain genres of music, certain bands, lend themselves to those sort of different techniques. This, I feel like, has to be a combination of both of those things. Because you could have a home studio, and the guys in this band, their last album came out in 2016, and if they'd just been sitting at home since 2016, and they come up with a cool guitar part, and so they record it, and then, well, what kind of drums would go over that? Program some drums in there. Then what could come after this part? And you slowly sort of like piece together the puzzle. Then you go into the studio and you record all the guitar all the way through, the drums all the way through for each song. And then you have all these programmed elements like the marimba, the xylophone, the piano, the whatever. Then you go in the studio and you sort of start to craft it in that regard. You've already done pre-planning. I don't think that you could go into the studio and like on the fly do this kind of stuff. Unless you're like virtuoso musicians who like, they write down the bones of the song and then they sit down with all these different instruments, probably a piano, electric keyboard, and just come up with all these little crazy runs and things, which there are definitely some musicians out there who are that talented. So I just don't know about these guys, but, and it really doesn't matter in terms of, the album sounds so great and everything, but like, regardless of how it was approached in terms of the writing of this album, it's definitely impressive, and I really appreciate that. So the more I think about it, the more I talk about it, the more I think I liked it. But like I said, I've already mentioned multiple times sort of the negatives, the positives of this. So I think we can kind of leave the video here. I hope I did it justice. I think that this is a really special album. I'm going to show several people some of these songs, and I know it will blow their minds. And we might feature this band on my channel in the future again as I show maybe some other people these things. I do a series here called 12-Year-Old Reacts where I show my nephew certain songs from maybe my childhood or just growing up through the years or whatever, or any songs that I think he might like or dislike, and then we talk about them. And he's a fan of Weird Al, and I think that if I showed him a band like this that sort of sounds a little bit like Weird Al, but that has a whole album that sounds like this, I think that he might get a kick out of that and enjoy it a lot. So I might do that. Like I said, I've got other friends that I think would appreciate this album as well. So we'll see. Regardless, I think that this album is a feat. It is worthy of anybody's attention. And I think that the guys in this band should be incredibly proud that they made this and that it is as consistent as it is. So, yeah, job well done. Thank you very much for watching the video. I have all sorts of other things on my channel. You can go check those out if you want to. Think about liking the video. Think about subscribing if you want to. You can check out playlists that I have for different sort of things. Top albums of the year lists that I've done for many years at this point. I have all my Metallica videos in one playlist if you want to check any of those out. I have all the 12-year-old reacts in their own playlist if you want to check some of those out. So check out some of those things if any of it sounds interesting. If not, you can just scroll through and look for some of the other albums that I've done this year or in past years. But this year my channel's really started to grow, and I'm very grateful for that. So thank you very much for checking out this video, and I hope to see you again in the future. But if not, that's cool. Until next time.